Hello, guys. Welcome to another hiatus episode of Steven Universe. This is a quick pre-credits introduction to say that we are about to deep dive on. I was doing so well because it's not cartoon Nexus, is it? It's something else.
It's
Nexus.
crossover Nexus.
Crossover Nexus. That's it. We go deep dive. We did all the spoilers in the world, and I can't say this enough. I'd really recommend watching this one if you're a fan of Steven Universe.
Yep.
I have never seen the other shows. It doesn't matter. Watch it and then come back and listen to this because we truly spoil it and you truly should watch it.
Yeah, there's a lot of joy to be had from the surprise of some of this stuff and what we were talking about in the podcast as we did. We just recorded it. We've literally just recorded it, but then gone back to record this because it deserves to be seen. We were pleasantly surprised by it. And therefore, we would like to preserve that surprise for you. So if you've any vague interest in Steven Universe, which I guess if you're here, you have, just go watch this. It's 11 minutes.
Yeah.
It's been put on YouTube 1,000 times over, so you won't even have to look hard. It's a love letter to a few different things, and I think that it's well worth your time. And then come back and we can have us break it down for you because it is, again, it's best watched unspoiled. So there you go. Otherwise, Chris gets to say his favourite thing now.
Roll the titles.
What happened? You used to say it right. When did you lose it? Cue the music. It's cue the music.
Cue the music. Sorry. Right.
Should we do it again? Should we pretend that didn't happen?
Yeah.
Okay. And Chris will now say that favourite thing of his that evidently isn't his favourite thing because he forgets it every fucking time.
Cue the titles.
No.
I know. I'm joking. Just to wake you up. Right.
Take three. Chris will now say his favourite thing.
Cue the music.
And welcome to Steven University. This week in our hiatus watch, we will be looking at Crossover Nexus, which is an episode of OKKO Let's Be Heroes, which is a show created by Ian Jones-Quartey, who used to work on Steven Universe and is in a relationship with Rekka Sugar, creator of Steven Universe. And basically, they did a crossover episode where
spoilers.
Spoilers for that if you've not seen it yet. Where the lead of OKKO is basically thrust into a weird world where, well, I can explain what the world is later. I want to see what Chris thinks this is what's going on here for a minute first. But basically, where there's a guy that's killing various heroes in inverted commas, and it's basically a cavalcade of references to old and new Cartoon Network stuff. And then he goes on a bit of an adventure with Garnet from Steven Universe, Raven from Teen Titans Go, and new Ben 10. Ben Tennyson from the modern Ben 10, not the original OG Ben 10. Who, from my understanding, really there isn't a huge difference. It's just design, I guess. Otherwise, I think the show is pretty much the same. I could be wrong. I know. I've seen episodes of OKKO. I've seen episodes of Teen Titans Go. I have never seen a frame of Ben 10, so I couldn't tell you how respectful they were to that source material or not. But I just want to start, Chris, by asking you what you thought, because I'm not the biggest, I'm not a huge Cartoon Network super nerd, but I recognized a lot of the stuff referenced here. If at the very least recognized, and some of it is stuff from my childhood that I actually actively watched. The example that blew my mind the most was I Am Weasel showing up. Which is just hearing him just say, I am Weasel. I was like, oh my god, where's I Are Baboon? I just need the rest of this now. It almost made me want to go back and watch clips of that old show. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm not quite a Cartoon Network super fan, but I'm familiar enough with a lot of this stuff that this all felt. There's a lot of this that felt sort of familiar to me, or I sort of picked up from context. I can't imagine, with your only experience in the world of Cartoon Network, it seems, to my knowledge, is Steven Universe and the Steven Universe Uncle Grandpa crossover. Therefore, you must have recognized Uncle Grandpa and then Steven Universe characters and no one else.
Well, no, because I think there was a flash of Dexter's laboratory at the end.
Yes,
wasn't there?
He showed up a couple times actually. Yep.
I know enough. I've seen enough images / experienced your fandom enough to recognise the Adventure Time characters.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yes. Good.
And of course there were characters from Over the Garden Wall in there.
Yes, which I
So-
wasn't sure if we were gonna sort of reveal if you, because I was we have, to give people some context, we have recorded
2 of them.
some stuff for over analyzing the garden wall at this point. So Chris is
Yeah, I thought we had revealed that already. Well, yeah, but yeah, we are. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's coming anytime soon because we're so busy at the moment. But,
yeah, we've basically it's taken us like a month and a half to record like 2 episodes. So it's gonna be a while. But I would be very wary.
We've had a lot of, well, presumably by this time it might already be up, but we've had requests to talk about Doctor Who, so we're doing a weekly Doctor Who review as well. So
yeah, not only do we have. It's funny though. We had requests following us deciding it was a thing we should do, which was nice. That was good validation. It's like, Chris, I think this would be a good idea, and then someone literally asked us, and I was like, okay, it will be a good idea. We've been we've been commanded. So that's
But so that's at least 5 shows. I read a sorry, got a cough. I read an article of someone watching Infinity War without having seen any of the MCU films, and they were like, I felt emotional. I got the triumph. I got the pain. It all worked, and I was like, really? I struggled to see how that would work. And then I watched Cartoon Network Infinity War, which was what this was.
Yeah.
And I felt the triumph. I felt the joy. I felt the heroism. I enjoyed this so much more than I thought I would.
Me too.
I found it uplifting. I found it triumphant. Kind of made me want to watch Ben 10.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this. Like, I was expecting, and we kind of peek behind the curtain. We are doing something else as well tonight, and we kind of got a bit of a tight time frame, so we don't know how long this will be. But one of the reasons for that was, well, you know what? It's okay for one hiatus episode to be a little bit shorter. There's not going to be too much to say. It's fine.
Yeah, because I honestly thought this would be a conversation about Garnet's positioning in this, and then we would probably move on.
Exactly.
But it is such a good piece of television.
Watched it and went, oh shit. So apologies if this is a bit shorter. You guys know that and not us. But yeah, I thought this was really, really entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I got enough of the references, but also you don't need to know the references to know what's happening at the end. I think in a way, almost references is unfair, because references suggest things that if you don't understand it, you won't get it. But literally, again, big spoilers, the ending has him turning into a lot of cartoons. So you don't need to know who every one of those cartoons are to realise that they're doing something pretty cool.
Yes,
for
100%.
For Cartoon Network fans.
No, but there are also a lot of really subtle jokes that I'll go into later that you would definitely miss if you didn't already know about these shows. But 100% agreed with the overall content though.
The other thing was, it was promoted as, it must have been such a thrill for people, because, and I was watching it going, God, I bet people are loving this, because it was promoted as a crossover between a couple of shows.
Yes.
And instead, what you got was just a bucket load of joy. So should we talk about the Garnet thing? Because one of the...
Yeah, I don't know if we should get to some of the other stuff first and then do Garnet. Should you start with the Garnet of it all? Sort of get
let's start with the Garnet and then just plow through the references. But the
that's the best way to do it.
So the Garnet thing is, we were and one of the reasons we were like, okay, let's talk about it, let's kind of give an episode to it, was because Ian came out and said that there is going to be a canon fact about Garnet that hasn't been revealed in the show but is canon, and I've chosen to put it into this episode. So that was why it kind of became a bit bigger news for Steven Universe fans, as well as just any kind of new form of content. So what that reveal turned out is that Garnet's glasses help her see her future vision
they
bit
help
clearer.
Her focus her future vision. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is just a really cool nod. I like that. It makes sense. It wasn't,
There is a slight problem with it, though.
What's that?
Is that very often in the show, when she's shown to be focusing her future vision, she takes them off.
Oh, right.
It's a bit... There are obviously she very rarely takes them off, but the example I saw a GIF of today in the wake of that was from Reunited, when she literally, Steven's crying and she looks up to the sky, and then she takes off her glasses and her brow furrows a bit, and she goes, "Blue diamond." And it's the opposite of what this is revealing, because she's unsure, takes off the glasses, furrows her brow, and then knows it's blue diamond. And I'm like,
But I interpreted, this is going to sound fucking stupid, but I interpreted that as like her just taking off the glasses to see better. And she physically sees blue diamond. I didn't view that as future vision, because it's obvious it's blue diamond. They're all crying. That's her jam.
yeah, I suppose, but I think the impression I got from the way that she like focuses, like her brow furrows, is I saw it as her using her future vision to be certain that's who's coming,
right?
And that it's not just that people are crying at a wedding. But yeah, I mean, if you're right, then I suppose I'm sure. But from what I understand, there are a handful of examples of her taking them off and still using future vision really well.
Right.
Or specifically, the really frustrating thing is taking them off and focusing on future vision, like specifically. I don't know how many of those examples there are. I haven't trolled back through it yet. I'm sure as the dust settles on this, we'll find out more. If it does track, then that's a really neat, cool thing. And they had a little gag, and she's like, they helped me focus my future vision and their prescription. And it's like
yeah, I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, so like it's assuming that it tracks with the rest of Steven Universe. Like, it's a cool little fact. It doesn't hurt or hinder the show. It's one of those facts that like you don't need to know. It will never improve an episode of Steven Universe. It will never probably be relevant to an episode of Steven Universe. But it works and it's fine, and it works particularly here because the premise of this episode is that they are thrust into this world where heroes are being killed, but how this villain is taking them out, Stryker I think his name is he's taking away their powers. And he takes away Garnet's glasses, so she can't use her future vision as well. He takes away Raven's ability to do magic. He takes away Ben 10's the device, the Omnitrix, I think, or something. Have I got that right? Omnitrix, the thing he uses to turn into aliens. Yeah. Again, Ben 10 is genuinely alien to me. I know so little about Ben 10. It was a little after my time, but So it's this really, and it builds to this really amazing moment where at the end where we reveal that like the thing that was stripped from KO is his friends, and like now he's made friends with this group. His powers are kind of back, and then he uses his sort of like his, it's like he kind of, it's weird because watching this, he was so much smarter than all the other characters all the time. Like he had to explain to Ben how his Omnitrix worked in that world. Like he seemed really self-aware in this episode.
Yeah, but I think that's the crossoverness of it, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
It's you've got to do that. It's got to fundamentally work as a episode of the show that it's
100%.
It sits in,
and I think it's a really good ad for that show. Like I watched a couple episodes of OKKO, Let's Be Heroes, and went, cool, that looks good. I'm gonna wait to see if it gets deeper and come back to it because it seemed like fun. But like the thing that sort of hooks me is when the shows get a bit deeper. I don't have enough time to just watch all the ones that are just fun, unfortunately, because there's just a lot of those. There's a huge number of shows on Cartoon Network that are just a lot of fun to watch, but you don't get anything else out of them. And I respect those shows, and if I had infinite time, I would absolutely watch those shows, but I don't, so I have to be very choosy. And OKKO never has yet to. I've not seen any evidence that it's gone to any sort of the deep and interesting places Steven Universe has. When the lore develops and it gets there, or I hear that it gets there, I will then go back and check it out. But this was a good ad for the show, though. It does make you want to. It does make you think about checking it out, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed to have really good morals. And just a really fun premise. And what I love though is that every character, it felt like, got a moment. Every character got a time to shine. It kind of felt like, and I don't know if it's just because of where we're coming from, but it felt like Garnet got a little more than the others. But again, I don't know if that's just because.
Well, we can talk about that a little.
We're following Garnet
because I think there's a reason for that. I think Garnet is a very important character to Rebecca and Ian because Garnet kind of reflects their relationship. Garnet is the embodiment of that. So I think it was important for Ian to establish a relationship between KO and Garnet. You know what I mean? Like I think,
that's fair. Yeah.
And I think that was like important, and I think there was a lot of time spent building those two up as a friendship, And you're right, Garnet definitely got more play by a mile than the other two characters. And I don't think that's us noticing that more because we watch Steven Universe more thoroughly than the other shows. I think that is factual. I think if you were tallying up like dialogue percentages or
the card moment at the end.
Yeah, I mean, and the moment that when he comes up with the name, it was okay. Let's be Steven Universe. He merged all the titles of all the shows together. And then they all gave him 0 except for Garnet, who gave him 10 and then winked. Like there's a lot of really sweet moments between those two characters that I really enjoyed, and I think that was probably quite important to Ian. I mean, I'm sure he'll probably at some point go into more detail about that. On maybe the official Steven Universe podcast. I wouldn't be surprised. I would like to hear him talk about that more. I don't want to speculate on what those characters mean to him, but I think there was a deliberate choice to put those two together. And I think it probably meant more than we're understanding. And I would like to hear Ian speak about it.
And a big takeaway meaning from that, though, is that if anyone's watching this or listening to this and has dismissed, as you quite easily could and would, dismissed watching this, I'd really recommend watching it. As a Steven Universe fan, it's very entertaining. I think there's enough because of that push for Garnet and him. There's enough Steven Universe stuff in there. And there's enough Garnet to make it very worth your time. It's more worth your time than some of the shorts. I
know. I would agree. I think it's a really good, clean, simple. And considering how much is going on, the fact that the story feels really feels reasonably well explored. It's got 11 minutes, and not only does it introduce us, if you're new to all these characters, but it also manages to tell a cohesive story with an actual villain, an actual resolution, a boatload of really good gags, and so many references to Cartoon Network's history. So even if you don't watch any of the shows that it's directly thinking other than Steven Universe, trust me, other than those 4 shows, the core 4 shows that are being sort of crossovered here, there are a million references to Cartoon Network's history that if you've watched Cartoon Network, would you want to? Yeah, okay. Well, we can talk about it.
Time for Triv. Give us the references.
Well, the way I want to do this, I'm going to talk about. There's a document that I've been sent on the Discord of all the references in this. I have yet to look at that. I noted all the ones I spotted, and I watched this twice looking for them because there were so many. I was like, I've got to see this again. So keep in mind, I have the advantage of having watched it twice. So if anyone's going, Jesus, you spotted a lot of stuff for. I did watch it twice the second time, doing a bit of pausing just to try and get a good sense of it because there's so much stuff. It's really dense. Then what I'll do is I'll double check the list at the end to see if there's anything I missed. The actual list. So the stuff that I noticed. Well, the first thing I knew about, kind of going into it because some people had speculated about it. The location of this is CN City, which stands for Cartoon Network City, and is the location of a series of promos from 2004, 2005-ish, I think.
Oh, wow.
And they were bumpers, they were promos, and it was advertising all the shows that were on Cartoon Network at the time. So it was basically the camera would just move through the city, and you'd see in windows of different buildings and stuff all the different Cartoon Network characters, and they'd be interacting. And they did these bumpers for a couple of years, and they were all different, and they did some really cool stuff. Someone put a supercut of them together. It's 12 minutes long. They're really interesting, actually. I haven't looked at them since watching this, but I've bookmarked a link to that, and I will because it was nice to be reminded of those bumpers. And the location that this is all set in then is CN City, which is this fictional place in which all the cartoons come together. And what's cool is at the end when they revitalize it, they add a bunch of stuff from modern Cartoon Network shows. So at the end, when they bring CN City back to life, it now has the treehouse from Adventure Time, the park from regular show, and I noticed the Teen Titans Tower in the background as well. There's probably more, but I didn't spot those. But I mean, it's got the original one had the Townsville City Hall from Powerpuff Girls and the candy store from Ed, Ed and Eddie, and those were still present. That's the most recognizable bits of it to me. But yeah, that's where it came from. So that's pretty cool. I mean, even the logo for this, actually.
That's awesome.
It's great. And even the logo for this, Crossover Nexus, the C in the N of Crossover Nexus with the logo of Cartoon Network, CN, which I thought was really cool. There was a bit where he goes, new, as he bashes through the wall when Ben 10's in his four-armed form. And that's a reference to the new, which is an advert campaign / slogan they've been using for a couple of years. I think it maybe ended last year or something, but like new was the little jingle they used to use for when it was new content on Cartoon Network. So again, referencing like bumpers and adverts rather than actual other shows necessarily, but it's still really cool. Apparently, now this one is another one that I read about rather than actually spotted, but it's a good one. The building that they visit is known as Cartoon Network Studios, and is apparently a building from an obscure ad from 1999. It's not based on their actual studios, but it was the setting for a promotional advert for Cartoon Network in the 90s, late 90s. I thought that was kind of cool too.
It would be fascinating to know whether Ian and the team put all this in, or whether they did so much and Cartoon Network someone high up in Cartoon Network went, you know what, we can take this further. Why don't you do this? I'm assuming it was the team.
If I was guessing, I would say it was the team as well. It felt really baked into the concept of this, but yeah, 100%. It certainly wouldn't surprise me if there was some stuff that came from head office too. There were loads of posters in the backgrounds for shows. They were in this weird sort of shadowy style where you couldn't actually make out the characters, but the shapes of the iconic silhouettes of the characters were on all of them. And I noticed, this is a genuine list I wrote down, I noticed so many of these posters. When they went in that building, I noticed Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, Adventure Time, Samurai Jack, We Bare Bears, Johnny Bravo, Steven Universe, Regular Show, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Gumball, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and Craig of the Creek. Just in posters. Wow. Just in posters. Then they had a bunch of Frozen characters as part of the plot. During that, I noticed Chicken from Cow and Chicken. I noticed Grim from Billy and Mandy. The talking dog from Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog. There was some graffiti in the background that said TV on rocket fuel, which is another 90s Cartoon Network slogan. That one I actually remember directly. They also referenced in the graffiti programming blocks they used to do, like Haha Thursdays, JBVL, and Superchunk. Superchunk I remember so distinctly when there was a graffiti of Superchunk in the background. And these are all from sort of like either bumpers or like special blocks they did where they were like, oh, it's Haha Thursdays, and they would do like a certain group of shows grouped together under that sort of banner, if that made sense. Those sort of programming blocks were really cool. I saw Chowder, I saw Grizz from We Bare Bears. Right, and I swear to God, I noticed the most obscure one I noticed that I was the proudest of was Erin from Minguzi. So they used to do this thing called Toonami, which was like a block of like Japanese animated shows. I think it was mostly Japanese animated shows. It's the block that they used to have Dragon Ball Z in. So that's how I first discovered Dragon Ball Z, was watching it through Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And eventually they scrapped Toonami and they replaced it with Minguzi, which was like the bumpers were like had characters and they would introduce the shows or whatever. I hated it though. I could not stand it. But the lead human character from that, Erin, was in the background. And I was like, holy shit, that is a deep cut. I was not expecting to see that at all. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Sheep from Sheep in the Big City was there. They had some branding for Cartoon, which is the branding they did all their new shows on when they first started doing shows themselves. Because when Cartoon Network started, I think they mostly just aired other production companies' content, and then they started to make their own. And at the time, because there wasn't as much of that, they branded it Cartoon. I think that's how it went. So that was pretty cool. We're getting to the end of the list of stuff I noticed, but one or two last little ones. There's a few jokes at the expense of various things that I noticed. First of all, Tara Strong voices both Ben 10 and Raven. So there's a really good joke when she's in the Four-Arms form, who is not voiced by Tara Strong. Raven speaks, and KO says, "Was that you?" And the Four-Arms Ben 10 goes, "Do you think that sounds like my voice?" Which is funny, because when he's Ben 10, it's the same voice actress.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was really cool. Raven and Ben 10 are the same voice. They do a joke about him having the bad guy having a lengthy power-up, and then he goes away for a few minutes while he powers up. That's a reference to Dragon Ball Z, which infamously used to spend entire episodes having their characters power up. Just a brilliant little gag. And then my actual favourite gag from the whole thing was at the end, Raven creates portals for them all to get home through, and she almost steps into Teen Titans instead of Teen Titans Go, which is
Yeah, I clocked that one and found that very funny.
That is because like those two shows, like I prefer Teen Titans myself for the same reason that like I prefer Steven Universe to OKKO, which is like Teen Titans Go is very funny, and I would totally sit and watch that for 5-10 minutes if need be, and I have done. I've seen a few episodes of Teen Titans Go. There's nothing wrong with Teen Titans Go at all, but it doesn't like have the depth of a Steven Universe. Teen Titans, OG Teen Titans did. It was sort of like Batman the Animated Series. It was quite dark. It had its lighter moments and its goofy moments too, and it borrowed a lot of weird animation stuff from like anime. But that was a really cool show, and I just love the idea that like Teen Titans Go Raven might have accidentally stepped into the original Teen Titans show. So yeah, that was pretty fun. And then the last things I noted down, where I noticed there was a car that was clearly belonged to Professor Utonium from Powerpuff Girls because it had a some stickers on the back. I can't remember what they were now. One of them maybe was Chemical X, and then the other one I noticed that was in the car park of that place was the Buzzwagon from Wacky Races. And then I made a big list, and I did a lot of freeze framing for this one. When he turns into a bunch of characters to punch the bad guy in the end, I noted all the ones I recognized. Jake from Adventure Time, Uncle Grandpa, Gumball, Mordecai, Grim, Buttercup, Grizz, Chowder, Johnny Bravo, Monkey from Dial M for Monkey, which I was proud to spot, but also deep fucking cut, guys. Deep cut. I had forgotten Dial M for Monkey had existed until I saw that. And then we had Dexter from Dexter's Lab, Double D from Ed, Ed and Eddie, Super Cow, again, deep cut, and then Finn. It ended on Finn from Adventure Time. So those are all the ones I noticed. It's a lot in it.
That's very impressive. Well done.
No, I'm from their perspective though. It's a lot. Like I can't believe they fitted all that stuff in.
It was really cool. It was and also it made so much sense as well. Like how they wrote that into the story.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like the idea that CN City is a real place that's just in a different dimension, and in that dimension, all those characters share the universe together.
Yeah.
But he he destroyed them all, so then he started summoning people from other dimensions because he ran out of like the stuff to destroy. Like that's a really cool idea. Okay, so I'm opening up the official list now to see if there's anything that strikes me that I missed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, this is a very long list, but a lot of these are shows I don't know. Schnitzel, Yummy, Moxie, Robot Jones, High Five Ghost from regular show. I feel like I should have recognized that, but I don't. Vestro from Secret Mountain 4 Awesome. So I'm assuming this means stuff to some people. Duncan from Fire Breather. Knuckles from the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. I never saw that show. So there you go. Periwinkle from Periwinkle Around the World. Jesus Christ, this just goes on and on. I don't think I'm actually going to be able to go through this list. Like, there's hundreds of these. Like,
would you want to put it in the description, maybe?
Yeah, I'll link to this. It seems to be this is a Google Doc that someone's created with all the references. I'm gonna do that. Basically, I mean, oh my god, this list is insane. It just goes on and on. I'm scrolling through it still. King Rufus from Long Live the Royals. I don't know what that is. Mike, Lou, and Og.
It's
Lou
so cool, man. Like, if this was meant to just be a couple of shows. It's so awesome that it's kind of a celebration of Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I would agree.
Crazy.
I would agree. Yeah, that's nuts. Places shown. Mouths from the Powerpuff Girls. The Townsville Hall, which I saw. Yeah, the park from regular show, which I saw. Apparently, Mung's Dahl's Restaurant from Chowder. Don't recall that, but fair enough. The Treehouse from Codename Kids Next Door, which I again didn't spot. Billy's House from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. I didn't spot that, and I should have because I watched that show. I mentioned the candy store from Ed, Ed and Eddie. Oh, Ghost Planet from Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Oh, I'm sad I didn't see that. That's a really good one. That's another deep cut, though. Space Ghost Coast to Coast was a really weird show.
You're talking a foreign language to me at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there you go. So Super Chunk, JBVO, which I referenced already. Tickle You. I don't know what that is, and I don't want to know. I'm guessing that was a programming block they've referenced. Yeah, it is under that. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop now because this list is ridiculous. I'll link this document in the comments below, or I'll forget and then I'll get yelled at in the Discord, one or the other.
In conclusion, though, check it out. Awesome. a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because
Yeah.
if you're watching this now, like we've basically just spoiled it top to bottom. Maybe we need to put a little disclaimer at the front to say like, watch it first.
Yeah, okay.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea because we basically, if there's any surprises left at this point, then I'd be amazed because we've gone through so much of it.
That's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, like just I want to just like thank them for like putting so much heart and love into this. Like what a I was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did, and I wasn't expecting it to have been created with such love and affection for Cartoon Network. And so many references to stuff that I'd forgotten existed. Like I said, Iron Weasel I'd forgotten existed. Dial M for Monkey, that definitely was, that melted my brain. You know, because it was so gone. I would have never pulled that in a million years. If you'd have asked me to list Cartoon Network shows I watched in my youth, I would have never remembered that existed. It was literally putting that character in front of me, and I went, "Oh shit, yeah!" Whereas obviously things like Cow and Chicken and Johnny Bravo were a lot more.
Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, Dexter's Lab, like a lot more iconic. It's a shame though, because like I also watched a lot of Nickelodeon stuff, so it's a real shame they couldn't have fitted in things like Rugrats and Rocko's Modern Life and stuff from the Nickelodeon side of things. I know it's a Cartoon Network show, but it would have been really cool if it had referenced more than just Cartoon Network's content. But
yeah, but where do you draw the line then? Like, do you know what I mean? Do you just do all animation ever? Like, I think it's better to stick with one. Would stick with the network that it airs on and stuff. And I think it's fine.
yeah, and like again, like this is just like me just wanting more. This is me being greedy. I enjoyed it so much that I'm just going like, oh, more of that, please, more like that. So yeah, there you go. I don't know.
There we go.
Do you have any? I mean, I feel like I've taken over the second half of this podcast because of all the references and stuff. I mean, how much of that stuff? How much of that stuff did you pick up on then? Like, I'm guessing
None of it, apart from the stuff I listed at the beginning.
Right.
Over the Garden Wall, Adventure Time, and Dexter's Lab. I didn't even notice Johnny Bravo. I remember thinking, oh, there's been no Johnny Bravo, but clearly I just missed
There
it.
was 2 Johnny Bravo references that I spotted. There's a side character from Johnny Bravo whose name I forget, but I recognise the design. And then he's one of the flashes of people he becomes when he's throwing that punch at the end.
Okay, awesome. No, what impressed me most about it was that I still felt triumphant. I still felt the heart. I felt how cool it was for people that did get the references. I was really impressed with it and would thoroughly recommend it.
Yeah. I would
Cool.
agree.
There we go.
I would agree. Wow, cool. So that's everything for this week, I guess. Thanks, guys, for bearing with us. Sorry it's a shorter one, but we kind of expected it to be, and we're on a time frame. And honestly, like I don't know how much more depth we could have gone into other than doing the references, talking a bit about the Garnet situation.
And it's not reflective of hiatus content, as you guys know. It's not. Don't worry, we're not running out of steam with the hiatus or anything like that. It's just we structured it in such a way tonight because we thought there would be less to say, and we wanted to really kind of celebrate those references and give a nod, show people that only watched it once and didn't maybe hear them all, give them a chance to revel in them. So yeah,
There's again so much stuff, and I'm sure, in fact, I haven't looked, but I'm willing to bet that if you want a more detailed breakdown of all the references, I'm sure some YouTuber has frame by framed it, and there's probably like a 30-minute video out there that's like every single one in the actual frame, so you can see the reference just with your own eyes rather than listening to what we're listening to us talk about it. But yeah, it's definitely worth your time. So much stuff in there that's worth doing, and it's a really nice ad for Cartoon Network. But in general, I think a lot of people will be maybe interested in checking out OKKO. Let's Be Heroes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
right. We will see you next week.
Yeah, thanks very much for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed our little divulgence into a different show for a week. I hope divergence, like moving into a different area for a bit. I hope no one was too upset about that. I can't imagine so. I think we justified it being crossed over. But yeah, we'll be back next week with more Steven Universe specific content as the hiatus continues into its 17,000th day. That's where we're at now, isn't it?
I think so.
I think someone said today that it's the 4th longest hiatus at this point in the show's history, and like the 3rd longest we've ever gone without knowing when the next episode was coming.
Jesus.
Welcome to
the club, Chris.
Yeah. It's a cold winter ahead, I think, at this point. But yeah, thanks very much for listening, guys. We'll see you next week. So I've been Dan Doolan.
I've been Chris Billingham.
We'll speak to you next time on another edition of the Hiatus Watch version of Steven University.